Alright, PsP team, this is a training tutorial on the very basics of Illustrator. Just a quick heads up, I do not have an outline or any plan right now, but I am going to try to walk you through the basics of getting a document set up, some of the sort of like baser functions about exporting, about clicking and dragging, about workspaces and stuff like that. And in the end, we will get to working with a song sheet just like this one. Alright, so let's take it from the top. You're going to open up Illustrator. You can't see that because it's down here, kind of. There we go. Click. Open it up. Loads up. Alright. It's going to ask you if you want to make a new document. And if you're using the latest version of Cloud, it's totally badass because it gives you all these really cool features, all these really cool sort of templates here. So I usually work with web large. We do almost everything 1920 by 1080 when we're doing graphics and stuff. And then we'll sort of optimize for social media in certain places. We'll do some stuff for iPads, or you can kind of get fancy. But really, what you want to look at is over here, because this is what we're talking about controlling and setting up. So obviously, you want to name your document. This would be PsP demo. If we were doing a background for a video, that would be 1920 by 1080 pixels. We'd want it this way. Probably just start with one artboard. You can put multiple artboards in, which we'll see in a minute, but I tend to like dragging my own artboards around once I've got things kind of working. For certain reasons, this is cool, but you can do it. You can kind of hit or miss or whatever. You can always just do it later. The bleed, just leave it 0. Color mode, we tend to do RGB for screens and CMYK for print. It's not really a big deal. Stick with RGB for now. If you know you're only going to do it in print, you can go to CMYK. Alright, so we got, and that's actually real quick, that's sort of what these settings do. You click web large, it's going to put it in a web format. If you put like print, it's probably going to put it, in CMYK, and it's in this orientation. So we're going to do web large. Actually, no, let's pretend that we're going to make a piece of sheet music. Actually, well, no, we'll do web large and then we'll come back and we'll do sheet music. Sorry, like I said, I have no outline for this. All right, creating this demo. Boom. Here I have my blank canvas. Now, the very first thing I want to bring your attention to is the fact that this screen might be slightly different than yours. So if you go to Window and Workspace, there's two things. One, the window menu is showing you all the different windows that you have open, all the different little tools and sub-windows and options you can put all over your screen. But what you really want to get used to is this workspace feature, because if you just use either layout, essentials, or layout, you'll have pretty much everything you need. And what you can do is you can also save your workspaces. You can new workspace and save a new one. I don't do this too much for Illustrator because it's pretty straightforward as it is, but I do this a lot for Premiere. So maybe you find some tools you really like. You can set your own workspace here, save it, and open it up every time. Then you can always reset the workspace. If you're like, oh, I lost that tool, where to go? Just reset layout, and it will kind of set it back to normal. All right, cool. So here we have our first artboard. Very first thing I want to show you is the Alt button. If you click the Alt or the Option button, I'm not sure what it is on PC. On a Mac, it's the Alt Option button. And then you use the mouse wheel. This will zoom you in and out. Very, very important. Other things to note, I think if you hold Control, Alt, or nope, never mind. Some mouse wheels like mine have a left to right feature, and sometimes you can set that up to be like Control up or Shift up. Oh, there it is. Command up and down will take you left and right. So one more time review. Alt zooms you in and out with the scroll wheel. Scrolling obviously takes you up or down, and then if you hold Command, you can go left or right. So let's zoom out. This whole dark gray area is your workspace. This light gray area is no man's land. If you put something out there, you basically force it to not crash, but it just gives you an error and then doesn't do what you want it to do. So inside this one little artboard, or inside this one massive canvas, you have this one little artboard. Let's mess with the artboard tool for just a minute. So here's you can see I clicked the artboard tool that's over here. Oops. Oh, true. Most of the tools, if you double click them, they will give you a menu to sort of walk you through some of the options if you want them. Or you can just click the tool once and it gives you a more free-form drawing mechanism. So here I'm drawing an artboard. I'll draw another one. I'll draw another one. Those are just ridiculous sizes and don't do anything for anybody, so let's undo those. You probably already know Command-Z, undo. Very, very helpful in this. As right now, real quick, I want to show you a very important skill, the Alt drag and the Alt Shift drag. So say I'm going to make a scene for a movie or for an animation, and I want 4 different scenes. I want a close-up, a left, a right, and a back, or whatever. I'm going to be saying, okay, that's 4 artboards. I'm going to make this 1 artboard, and make sure the dimensions are right up here before you do this. With the artboard tool on, which is also Shift-O, I believe, you can click and drag this around. That doesn't give me a new one, so I'll undo that. But if you Alt drag and then you move it around, then you get a new one. And you can Alt drag and make lots of copies. Whoops. But they get sort of misaligned. So what we do a lot of in Preschool Prodigies, because we like things to be geometric and symmetrical and in line and just, clean looking, we do a lot of Alt Shift dragging. So Alt, click Shift. Also, so I'm holding Shift and Alt at the same time and dragging, and you'll notice that it only drags on this sort of flat plane or sort of on a 45-degree angle, or again up and down. So it's a nice easy way to make sure that you can keep things where you want them. So now I'm going to do this a couple times. Boom, boom, boom. Got 4 scenes now. So what I might do is import some artwork here, start working, and then sort of replicate that or zoom in, and I can show you some more tricks for that in a minute here. But this is just basic stuff. We made some artboards. Cool. I'm actually going to move them over a bit. When you fire up, if you fire up multiple artboards in like the template creation menu or whatever, like the new document menu, it'll put them really close. And for reasons you'll see later, sometimes it's better to have some space in between them for elements and things. All right. So here we have our artboard. That's nice and basic. So we were in the artboard tool. Let's talk about some of the other tools that you absolutely need to have to be able to function inside of Illustrator. Now, just for starters, you can see them all over here on the left, and it's overwhelming, and each one of these does have sub-menus. But for the most part, you're going to need 3, 4, 5, 6 of them at most to really function inside of Illustrator. And it's super simple stuff. It's like, oh, I want to paint. Oh, I want to erase. Oh, I want to click. Oh, I want to artboard. Oh, I want to cut. Oh, I want to pen tool. And a lot of those you're not even going to use, especially if you're making sheet music, Preschool Prodigy style, Alt dragging, Shift dragging, eyedropping, and moving on to the next thing. Super simple stuff. So we're going to go through that real quick here. Let's go through some of the tools. So again, I have the artboard tool selected. Next move is to hit the V button on your keyboard. Boom. V is like home base. I'm back to pointing and clicking inside of Illustrator. You can see up here, selection tool, V. Very cool. This other selection tool is the direct selection tool. That's like if you wanted to edit, say, a small node on the Bell's smile. You want to move the smile around a bit. That's something you can do with that. We're going to avoid this tool and this tool. You're not going to need them. You can always YouTube these or tutorial these things. Adobe has amazing tutorials, way better than this tutorial that I'm making right now. Pen tool, very powerful, very cool. Not going to get into it. Type tool. Let's start with this one. So click the type tool. What is it? T? Boom. Genius. T for type tool. Cool. So you can click and drag and make different text, and it's going to fill it up with some lorem ipsum delete. So a couple things right out of the gate. We almost always are rocking the KG Miss Kindergarten font. Boom. We're almost always, especially if we're working on a movie thing, we're working in a way bigger font than 12, like 100. That's just sort of a nice, easy way to, oh, boom, Preschool Prodigies, click, cool, did it. All right, so made some text, super simple stuff. Let's go over the tools up here real quick. These are super important, and just in case you're not seeing it, it's up here, this toolbar. But remember, we're in the Arrange workspace, so if you sort of lost that, that's what we're going to do. Give me 1 second real quick to pause and just double check that this is actually recording. Cool, it's recording. Anyway, so here we have Preschool Prodigies looking pretty normal. Let's start by changing the color. So over here you can see that it's black. This is the fill, this is the stroke. If I wanted to make it a little bit thicker or a little bit more bold, in something like Word, you might hit Command B to make it bold. That doesn't exist here. We have way more fine control than that. So you use the stroke feature to outline a text. So up here you can see stroke, or over here. A lot of stuff you see up here will edit what you see over here, will edit what you see over here. It's all the same stuff, just different layouts. So I'm going to start by making this whole color, actually. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to change it to PsP blue, 1B2, 33E. All right, very subtle change. You can barely tell, but there you go. All right. Again, that's Alt zooming with the wheel. Make sure you can get used to that navigation. It's going to save you a lot of time. Using these scrolling things down here is the freaking worst. Anyway, so I'm going to make this a little bit thicker. I'm going to drag this fill here, and that'll give me a stroke default of 1. Made it a little bit thicker. I could thin it out by bringing it down, or I could just crank it. So that's what the stroke does. Now, the stroke sometimes will get funny. It will sort of resize itself. Happens a lot with the bells in particular. If that ever happens, if all of a sudden your text looks really fat, or the bell's eyes look really fat, or something looks like it's swollen, what you can do is you can just simply resize it. Usually just doing this will resize it, just clicking the little white box here. If you ever go to resize text real quick and it's doing this, and it's not actually resizing the text, it's changing the text box, you can then hit the button E, and you'll see that that will change over here to the free transform tool, and that will help you transform the text in a more illustrative type fashion. Squeeze it together. Also, never ever squeeze stuff like that. Anytime you want to squeeze text to be smaller, you absolutely 100% without a doubt should be holding the shift key, which will lock it into a proportion that matches the original. Stuff like this looks super unpro. Stuff like, I'm just going to undo it all, but you get the idea. All right, so that's some of the free format, transform, all that stuff. That's a good tool to come back to real quick, just an E tool for free transform. All right, quick feature, we can click up here, horizontal align center. Now what that did, that's not the paragraph text is here. This align center will align it to the artboard, or to the left of the artboard, or the right, or the middle. So normally we put stuff up, or sorry, we center stuff up here. And this one's important, align to artboard, because these functions will sometimes disappear if it's not set up right. So align to selection or align to artboard. So if I'm on align to selection, those things are gone. And that's because I've only got one thing selected. So it's like, oh, you don't want those tools right now. But if I had two things, now it's like, oh, you want those tools. So what align to selection sort of means is that it's not going to align to the artboard. So say these are over here, somewhere random, it'll align them to each other. So that's super helpful. Say you have 8 bells. We're going to actually open a bell document here in a minute, but pretend these are bells or whatever. Say we have these things and they're all Mendelstein God, all messed up like this. And you're like, yo, I want to spread these out looking all fancy and nice. All you have to really work with is to the far left and the far right. I'm going to put this one over here. I'm going to put this one over here. And then I'm going to grab all of these, and I'm going to want to line them up center. So I'm going to use this distribute center. Oh, sorry, no. I'm going to use align center to align them center. And then I'm going to use distribute vertical or horizontal center. It gets a little tricky, but you'll see how it works up here. It's not that hard. And then you click that, and that will sort of spread them out evenly. So now it looks really nice. And then I can click E and drag them all down, shift, drag them together, and go from having just one little thing to having a nice little pattern of things. So a lot of illustrating and stuff like this is exactly like that. It's sort of a patterning of one basic element and then changing it. So a cool thing you could do with all these fonts or all these texts would be to like make this one a different color and give this one an effect. You could do like a drop shadow, which I think is a stylized effect. Do a little drop shadow. We'll do this, we'll make it the drop shadow with the yellow or whatever. You could make it really bold. You could make it have a white inside. So it's just a good way for mocking things up quickly. Say you wanted to do a mock-up of a worksheet, a song sheet, but you weren't really sure which one. It shouldn't take you more than 30 seconds to make 2, 3, 4, 5 variations, 30 seconds of variation, just to see what people like. We generally go, or see what you like, rather, and then you can obviously share it and see what people like. We generally go with what's called flat design, which means that we don't do a lot of surrounding the fonts like this. It's kind of not flat in the sense that it's got a border that tends to not be flat. If you look at the bells, they don't really have borders. There's not a black outline. This isn't technically not flat, but it's sort of not flat. This is super flat. This is like the definition of flat. One color, another color. Just think Apple, think, any modern tech company, think PayPal, think Stripe. You don't see too many black lines. You see lots of contrast. Speaking of contrast, one tool that you might want to mess around with a little bit as you get into the whole Illustrator world. Granted, we're going to do a lot of stuff here that's pre-formatted, pre-colored, but one cool tool is what's called Color. I think it's spelled with a K. It might be called Adobe Color or Color. It's a color.adobe.com. They changed it, Adobe Color CC. Just a cool little tool for messing with colors. So say I want a triad of colors that I know are going to work together, and I really want to focus on. I want to make sure that the main color is yellow. Cool. Here's this goldish color I really love. And here's a light blue that works well with it. Here's a pinkish, reddish, magenta, whatever. And here's this bronzish looking tan. I don't even know. I'm colorblind. I don't even know. Then you can copy the hex colors from here into your document, and then you can sort of work that way. And that's a nice way to get good color schemes. And you can mess with shades. You can get compound colors, analogous colors. This is another great graphic design trick, but if you can install one of these extensions up here, this is called Color Pick Eyedropper. It's a Chrome extension. It will let you grab a color from your web browser, boom, copy it. Color is obviously more robust than this thing, but this little thing is great if you're on a website and working on stuff like that. All right, let's close this out. Go back into Illustrator. So you've seen how to make a new document. You've seen some basics about making text, about making alt dragging text around, things like that. One more thing I want to show you in the basics before we kind of jump into some more advanced stuff is the eyedropper tool. This is essential to basic illustrating, especially PsP style stuff where a lot of the colors are pre-formatted and all you want to do is make a slight variation, pull this color from this thing, move it over here, etc., etc. So the eyedropper tool, conveniently located on the I button. Basically what it does is it copy and pastes colors, formats, things like that. So if I wanted to copy and paste this style text over here with the eyedropper tool, I'd select it, click, click, click. Then I would hold Alt. You can see it switches the style of the dropper tool. And usually that means I can drop that on there. That's not working out quite the same. Let's see what happens if I do this. All right, maybe you cannot eyedrop this shadow tool, or sorry, this shadow effect. So excuse that last little boo-boo. But if I try to eyedrop this to here, that will match that, or it will match this. So you can go back and forth. If you have something selected, like this, and you hit the eyedropper tool, it will change whatever you have selected. If you don't have something selected, the eyedropper tool is a little bit more freeform. Oh, I want to click on this, then I'm going to click on this. I'm going to grab this one, I'm going to put them over here. It's a little bit more click, alt, click, click, alt, click. And that's a pretty common pattern you'll find in these Adobe plugins or these Adobe tools. In stuff like InDesign, you'll do the same thing with the B button where you grab a little piece of something and then drop it somewhere else. And that's how you can make layouts and things like that. So these are just basic Adobe standard sort of creative workflow tricks and tips. The alt drag, the shift drag, the eyedropper tool, the resize with the transform, basic aligning and distributing, that kind of stuff. There's millions of exercises for, tons of tutorials, and making sure that you feel comfortable with that. It's also going to be a ton of fun. You just can like shoot out ideas like, a mile a minute. You just fly through different variations and things like that. All right, so let's make it a little bit more relevant. Let's open up a master PsP document and mess with some bells a little bit. So master bells, 2017. Aaron, if you're watching this, keep this part in mind. Jeff, you too. I'm going to try to figure out a way to point you guys to this. All right, so here's a master bell document, pretty essential stuff. I'm going to grab these 8 bells and copy them back into my PsP demo thing. I'm going to trash all this text because it's basically useless. Actually, wait, no, I'm going to do one more thing with the text real quick. First, I'm going to paste the bells here. The last thing I want to show you with the text real quick that I almost forgot. This is a fun little feature. Kind of a nice little trick. Right now, this text is totally editable. and it's still a vector, it's still pure text. Let's try applying an effect to it that will make it a little bit more permanent, but also make it a little bit cooler. And then, so before you apply permanent effects, kind of like this drop shadow, that's not permanent. You can always undo this stuff, but it does make it a little bit harder. Sometimes you just make a copy of it, just so you can always come back to where you were at. So let's go over here and check this out. One real quick cool thing you can do. This is a nice little title effect. Grab the type, go to Object, go to Envelope Distort, make with a warp, and then you want just 5% right here on this bend. Sometimes I'll even do 3%, but that just puts a nice little curve into the text and just makes it look a little bit more fun, a little bit more pro. It's subtle, but you definitely will notice it, and it definitely has an impact. Now, what's a pain in the butt is if you try to change this text, you see that I'm like sort of editing inside of this effect, and say I wanted to change it to like Preschool Prodigy's Playground, it gets kind of wonky. So that's sort of why you want to always like mock stuff up first with basic text, and then come through and apply some of those things after. Keep in mind, it will change the shape though. So like if you know you're going to put bells on top of this, which is what we're going to do here in a second, you might want to apply it first. So that way you don't have to like move all the bells later. That's definitely happened to me in the past. All right, so I'm going to change back to align to artboard. I'm going to center this up and make it a little bit bigger with the E tool. We're rocking this killer title right here. And now I've got these 8 bells. And what I want to demonstrate with the bells here is basically how to take these very flat looking elements and with like minimal effort, and I'm talking minimal effort, making them look like they've sort of come to life. And there's a little bit more character to them. So this is something that's really going to be important, Aaron, in the storybooks, and Jeff when doing animations and even just doing video stuff. This is kind of like core PsP, I don't know, methodology or philosophy when it comes to art design and stuff here. All right, so one basic thing is we tend to do stuff from left to right with the bells in this order. And that's obviously kind of lame, kind of predictable, but it means that it's just nice and easy for, it just reminds people that there's a musical scale at play. It kind of reinforces the music teachers that this isn't just made by some company that doesn't know anything about music, that we're really like keeping our eye on the C major scale and keeping our eye on the prize, and like the music ed stuff is important, is a core component. So I want to put all these bells on top of this Preschool Prodigies thing and make them look more alive. So the first thing I want to do is size them all up to look like they're going to be a decent size. And we could do what I was saying before, where we do something basic like bring them all in so that they fill the area we want them to fill, even though they're a mess. And then we can align to selection, distribute center rather, and boom, we got that. Now some of these were a little bit so much of a mess that they went out of order. That's okay, it's a quick fix. Do it again, boom. All right, these are obviously a little big. These aren't gonna fit on top of this. So now that they're all here, we're gonna do this, resize them all together. I cannot encourage this next move enough that if you are going to resize something that you have 8 of, especially if it's notes or if it's bells, you should resize them all at once. So what I mean by this is, say I want to put these bells on top of here, it's worth grabbing one of them, figuring out what a rough size should be. This might be a little big. And then instead of doing this, oh, that looks great. Say, okay, this looks a little big. Let me grab all of them. Let me scale it down together. Let me check my sort of master one right here. Does this look like it could work for all 8 of them? Honestly, it's something that looks a little big, but I can see how it would fit roughly. So I'll leave it. So cool. So what that does, it keeps them all the same size, and then you don't end up like shrinking this one and then losing track of it. It's a little less important with the bells. They don't have to be perfect, but with the notes, it's going to be pretty frustrating, and I'm going to get kind of a stickler about it if the notes are different sizes. So keep that stuff in mind. The other way to check it is to click on the object and then look up here at the width and the height. You'll notice this button right here will lock the proportions. So if it's something like a bell or a note, you want to lock those proportions. I'm going to click this here, copy this width. Let's say I made a boo-boo, and now all of a sudden, oh, sorry, we want this on, my bad. Say I made a boo-boo, and this thing's huge all of a sudden. I'm like, oh, that's the wrong size. I click on this bell, which is the right size. as long as it's locked, I can grab just one of them, copy this value, come over to this guy, paste it in here, boom, 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 and I'm back. So that's a basic movement. I'm going to go through real fast and just drop these on here. Now, I'm going to kind of get into the details here in a second, but just know that I am doing this a little bit faster than I might normally so that I can show you so that you're not sitting around waiting for me. So some basic stuff with flat design is like, when it comes to flat design, if this C bell is like on top of this like that, that's not really flat anymore. It's sort of in front of, it's sort of, is it 3D, is it not 3D? So you can have a little bit of margin of fun with that to make him look like he's sitting on top of just a little bit. But for the most part, when it's flat, the stuff needs to be very 2D. It needs to not overlap all that much. So we don't want bells floating up here necessarily, and that's fine if we have to go over the letters a little bit. But don't pull something like, oh, he's sitting on the bottom of the S, because it's not going to look like, I mean, that kind of looks like he could climb onto the S. It's not terrible, and if it was like an animation where he was going to, say, jump from here to here to here, that's one thing. But just keep in mind that when we're doing this stuff, we generally keep it simple and keep it flat. I can find you guys some cool articles on flat design principles, but if you play the game Icicle, if you play any like Angry Birds type, Angry Birds not flat, sorry, bad example, but it's close. But, you know, any of these flat, modern cell phone type games out there will give you a good feel for it. All right, so this one's gonna need a little bit of an angle if it's gonna like live here. Now keep in mind that all of these bells are groups. If I want, we're going to get into going inside of those groups in a minute, which is how we're going to sort of bring them to life a bit more. And that's sort of where the meat of this is going to happen. All right, I'm going to stop paying so much attention to the detail here. You get the idea, though. It should be sort of realistic how these things are sitting on here. Obviously, this isn't a realistic world, but it's got to look like, you know, some basic physics happened. All right. So all this looks great, but it looks like the stuff we used to put out 2 years ago where everything was staring straight at the screen. So the subtler features come from getting into the bell groups and then using the arrows like 3-4 clicks at most. So let's give these bells some life real quick. Coffee break, timeout. All right. This C bell is off here by himself, and all of his buddies are over here. So he's probably more naturally going to be looking toward the right. So with the V tool on, I'm going to click on his eyes. I'm going to click again. Now I've got his sort of body, and now I've got his face. If you click too much, you'll end up with just a mouth. That's a pain in the butt. You just click out, try it again. There you got the face. Using the arrows, I'm going to hit right 3 or 4 times. Maybe I'm going to do a little bit more dramatic. That's like 7, 8 times. And then up like 2 or 3 frames too. It's a little dramatic. Yeah, it's a little too far. To be honest, it's a little too far, but it doesn't look bad. Now, these changes can be really subtle, and they'll have a pretty big impact. So he's looking kind of up and to the right, so maybe you tilt him back a little bit. And now all of a sudden, he's got a little bit more life than he normally has. And he's not staring deadpan like a zombie at the screen. All right, this guy, he's sort of tilted to the left, and he's sort of going down. But he's also looking at his buddy C over here, so maybe we kind of push his eyes this way. Just down to the left a little bit. And now they're hanging out, they're chilling. And it's super subtle like that, just going to keep clicking through. The E, I have to change this in the master graphics, but if this ever happens to you where you end up with something that should be grouped and is not, hold the shift button, click them together, and then Command G will group them. This guy's clearly looking over here. This guy's looking over here. I'm going to scroll over this way. Remember, you can command scroll to go left or right. Maybe this guy's looking up at something else that's happening up here. I don't know what that would be, but sometimes there's like more action going on up here. A is saying what's up to B. B is showing what's C. Or with A, excuse me. And C is like, yeah, don't forget me. All right, so that's given a lot more life. Now, when I look at this right away, if you look at this quickly, one of these bells, if not 2 of them, should sort of stick out to you as not so hot. So I look at the left one. The detail here is nice, looks good. This G is a little weird, but this A and this B look super robotic. Something about them is just not good. And I realized that they didn't get any tilt. They didn't get any of this. And I know that is subtle, but that's what really makes or breaks these animations and these graphics. And it's totally worth it. We're talking about like 4, 5, 6, maybe 15, maybe like, well, how many degrees is this? Like 30? That's kind of fun, but also a little dramatic. You get the idea though. So now that when I zoom out, all of a sudden this looks like it has a lot more life, and this one too, because it's not just deadpan center. And that's something that I don't want them to be a stickler about, but that's something that definitely separates the best animations from the ones that are like cool but not totally usable yet. So keep that in mind. Those couple clicks into the bell faces are super important for making things look clean. Another thing on the sort of on the opposite extreme, if you wanted to like make this bell look like he's going all the way to the right, I've noticed in some of the stuff we've done, we'll like squish the face up and like do stuff like this, and then the bell looks a little different. To be honest, with the whole flat design thing in mind, if the bell is looking right, this is about as far right as it should be looking. It doesn't need to be like profile. You don't need to like go crazy and like delete this eye and like cut the mouth in half and push stuff to the side. And we've tried all this to certain, and you can get kind of like, but they look weird. They don't look like the bells, and like they don't look, I don't know, it doesn't look flat anymore. It looks like you're missing half of his face. So with that in mind, if you want to make him look right, it's a matter of 7, 8 clicks of the face to the right, not a whole dramatic like pushing of the eyes or anything like that. All right, so that's some basics about this. To finish up, so now we have this cool graphic. Say we want to export this. We'll do a little export demo here. Keep in mind there's 2 ways to export, and you sort of want to be good with both of them, but there's one that's mainly out of convenience. Let's just do the main one for now. You go File, Export for Screens. This brings you to this window where you can see all of your artboards, and you can have some fun over here. So first thing you want to do is click a folder where you're going to export this thing. I'll put it in the Primary Prodigies scrolling test. I'll put it in Tamsin's folder because Tamsin, hopefully you're watching this. We'll call this demo artwork. I don't even know. All right. So we don't need these ones. You can clear selection to clear them all. I'm going to grab this guy. Now keep in mind that if I export as a PNG, and this is, I never put an actual white background here, I'm going to get a transparent background, and that's usually what we want. Most of the product images we have are transparent. Most of the graphics we make are transparent. Otherwise, you end up with a white block following around everything that you make. So obviously, you don't want that. If it's a full screen, like the background to a episode, that's going to be not transparent. But this is going to be transparent. So PNG, cool. This scale thing here is nice if you're doing, say, a logo. This is probably not, well, you can consider this is a logo. Say I was putting this on a website, I might want one that was like super high res. I might want one that was like low res for an email, and I might want like a smaller one for, I don't know, like a favicon on a website. Usually gets like the 0.5 version. So these scale things are cool because then you can just export artboard, boom, boom, boom. It exports 3 of them, different sizes for you, and we are rolling. And there you go. And that's got a transparent background, and it looks pretty good. This C phase looks a little funny, kind of. This G is looking up at nothing, but you get the idea. All right, let's dip back into Illustrator. The last thing I want to show you is how this all sort of works on the sheet music. So there's a longer tutorial about the sheet music. I'm having a hard time finding the sheet music right now. There it is. There's a longer tutorial specifically about the sheet music. This can kind of transition into that a little bit. So here we have the very first finished version of PsP Melodies 9, which is the very first version of a Primary Prodigies Level 2 style worksheet. So here is the sheet music. These are formatted to be 8.5 by 11 with the 2 treble clefs, full treble clef action. And you've got a bunch of notes here. You've got all the whole notes. There's actually a template that you can use that's got everything. This one's got almost everything. I don't currently see the A and the B, and you might have to open a different template than this one. Oh, no, here it is. All that stuff's over here too. That's good. So this gets a little bit more overwhelming, and I'll go into that in more detail in that next thing. But just so you can see how this is going to work, this is generally what we're going to be working on. So say you want to create a song or an episode. The best format for our content is a episode plus a song sheet and then a worksheet to go with it. It's all the bases, and if we can do it with the same graphics, it'll look really consistent. It'll look super pro. We get all the notation. We've talked about this before, but that is the idea. So here we make the song itself in this sort of longer format. Now, if you're still watching, this is a good time to talk about layers. Layers are a great way to, say, turn large segments of things on and off across all of your artboards. So, for instance, I put all of these gray boxes and stuff in layers that are locked. If you're looking up here on the right, I can turn them on and off, and I can unlock them or lock them. So that means that you can sort of make the music here like this, and then when we have to export it, I'll turn it off. And we'll get into that in the next video, but that's just a little bit about layers, how they work. If you need a refresher on layers, just do a quick search for layer tutorial. You'll get a bajillion hits, and you'll learn a lot in 5 minutes. All right, so back to the sheet music. Remember we talked about alt dragging, so that's a lot of what we're doing. We talked about moving stuff around with the mouse, or with the keys, the left and the right keys. It's a lot of what we're doing here, moving it so that it's like, pretty much in center or closer to the left. Generally what I like to do for this sheet music is align it with the box and then do like 2 or 3 clicks to the right. The more important thing is that whatever you do for a given piece of sheet music and a given song is that it is consistent in that song. So, maybe for whatever reason, the lyrics of this song are long, so you want to center the stuff to give yourself the most margin on the left and the right. So there's some words here, and they're bulky, and you need a little bit more space. Well, that means that you should center all of the words for this piece. That way it just looks consistent on that page. And if you have any questions about that or anything specific you run into, I can help you kind of choose between the lesser of the two evils, which is generally how some of this stuff goes down. Cool. Well, we're not going to get too much further into this here. This is just a basic tutorial. I hope it helped, and I'll see you in the next video.